Okay guys, so I don't know what all got missed, but I thought I hit the record button earlier to record this and part of the city. Let's see. Anyway, if you missed part of it, this is a schedule I'm working on, and right now I'm just working on the city scene. I don't know why, but my recorder, I guess I didn't hit the button right or something. It was not recording, so I don't know what you missed. I will have to go back and look. And like I said, I do not have editing software right now. I was using a temporary software, so um, if I had that, I could edit out, and mesh it together, but I don't have that. So you're going to get the full version, and it's going to be part of it missing, evidently. I didn't realize it was doing that until after the fact. So right now I'm just getting in the city scene, and then we'll go straight into probably him. Um, this walkway here is going to be mostly probably shading. A little bit of, I might go back and darken up some of these lines, like there's gaps in the between the slats on the bridge or whatever. But I won't do a whole lot with that. So it may be just shading with a dark pencil, colored pencil, whatever. And then we have some buildings over here as well that I just about forgot to do on the last video of this. Okay. I am going to work on this little bench right quick. Basically, all I'm going to do right now is darken up the wrought iron, color this in, and right now I have a basic pattern for the wrought iron, and I'm not sure yet if I want to go back in and try to do a filigree in between that. I may just leave it basic, just because there's so much grid work going on behind there. I don't want it to get lost and it be too much. But we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. And I think I might have mentioned in the last video, or the one I thought I was recording that I didn't record, that I probably will finish this picture without doing the clouds and the smoke, only because that is going to be probably done in pointillism, and I may do pointillism some on this deck. I just think it will give me a better, softer look with those clouds to do it in pointillism than to try to draw it out like this. I think it'll look almost too cartoony to draw it out like I'm doing now. So yeah, that would take like a really long time on a video, so I will probably not do that on what's recorded for you to see. And then at the end I'll show you, like I said, I'll show you a video of all four of the steampunk drawings that go together, the commission pieces, and you can get a feel for the finished product complete with everything done. Even that little pop of color that we're thinking about putting in here, because each of the pieces are supposed to have one little element that's got a pop of color. I'm kind of really loving it without that though. I'm not. My client wanted one of the pictures like that, and it seemed kind of didn't make sense to do one and not do them all. So we talked about doing one pop of color in all of them. But I really like it without it. So I don't know. Just add another little slat board. Only because this is going to be shadow in between these boards. It's going to be the darkest in between. And then I will put a little bit of shading on the actual bench slats themselves, but right now I'm just trying to get in between the slats. And my birds are not cooperating. They're talking despite the fact that I have a cover over them. Now I'm going a little bit lower than this because this looks like it has a front slat that maybe is shadowed. Now we'll just come in and I'm going to darken up the back of this so it doesn't get lost against that grid. And then I'm going to come in and start doing some little moves back over this to mimic wood. And the grain of the direction it's going. And right around the edges here, we'll put a little bit more shadows. I'll lift that middle section up just a little bit so it looks like it's connected. I'm just creating a little ledge here. Just going to run along the edge of that. This is like a metal beam that's holding this bridge up. And of course I go under it. Oops, and darken that up. And on this side you're not going to see it because it's too thin. Okay. Ooh, we start working on his little oxygen tank. Now I'm going to go this way with this because the bottom half of this is a little bit lighter. in the top half of the tank. And I don't know what this is, to be honest with you. It was just something I added on. It almost looks like a speaker, but we know a speaker's not going to be on the back of an oxygen tank. So maybe this is like air valves or something, or releases air. Who knows? Use your imagination. That's what I did. I used my imagination when I made this. I actually had the tank shorter, and I wanted something peeping out over the edge of the border, and I like the idea of having that tank pop out just a little bit. So when I did the tank, I added these little devices on the sides. I had my client call me, actually from Denmark, yesterday to tell me that he wasn't going to be able to do, he was going to do one of my drawings as a tattoo, steampunk tattoo on him. And he called me and told me he was going to have to hold off on that. But when he dialed, his name showed up, but the number was so weird. It was like we have 3 digits for the first number and 4 digits for the second number. They had 2, 2, 2, and 2. I think it's right. So they only had 8 digits, I think. I've got it on my phone somewhere. But anyway, it was really kind of wild because I wasn't expecting, first of all, I wasn't expecting him to call me because we've been conversing back and forth through media, social media. And I knew he was coming in soon, and that's kind of the way we've been talking. But when he called me, I was just like shocked at the number. I just thought that was really neat, how the number was. I want his vest to be just a little bit darker. I'm not sure. I may do his shirt in black. I'm not sure yet. on the last drawing that I did with the steampunk guy, and he's holding a monocle and he has a little top hat on, and then he's got the mechanical bee on his shoulder. I ended up, which I will show you when I complete these, but I ended up doing, I had talked about maybe doing his vest in black, since we traded off the black background, and I changed that to stripes. I thought about doing his vest in black, but I decided to go with just shading on it. So it kind of has the same look. It's a little bit darker, but it's not too dark. And I think it would be kind of cool maybe to do his shirt in black. He's got little epaulets, I think that's what you call them, on his shoulders. Let's see. Do the same thing on his pants. Give him a little bit of shadowing. Down toward the bottom, it contours with the little gathers or creases. So as it comes up, it'll straighten out, but as it's hitting the bottom, it'll kind of come at an angle. Now I'll go back and probably cross-hatch these, just so they don't look so much like the shirt. Cast a little bit more of a shadow there. I think I'm going to do his vest and the cross-hatching instead of his pants. Give it more of a design. Because on the bottom of this, the actual road or walkway or whatever this is, I think I'm going to probably end up doing it. I may not do a, excuse me, having indigestion today for some reason. I may not do a lot of pen work on it, but I probably will have some, a lot of shadows. And I'm just flipping it over because it's easier for me to go down and away than the way I was going on this side anyway. side. I've been drawing off and on all day, so my hands are starting to feel the effects of it. I've got like 6 days to get these commission pieces done. And no, I have not procrastinated. I've actually been working really hard, but they're just taking a lot longer than I thought they would. Plus I've been videoing them, so, but the videoing doesn't distract from the time frame. It's just it's taking me longer. They're more detailed pictures than I sometimes do. You got to realize that either mostly watercoloring, sketching on my own time in my book, or doing some kind of really abstract acrylic piece, and they don't require sitting and doing major detail like this. But I honestly find this rewarding to sit down and do this detail. I sometimes want to get away from this detail, but then at the same time I sometimes crave doing the detail. I just about have to have that black for that to show up. I'm just darkening up that left side a little bit more all the way across, so it'll stand out a little bit. Now, because this is a lantern, it's going to have glass in it. So I'm just going to do a couple marks in it like a glass would have. y'all hear my roosters? We bought, I think it was last year, we bought chickens again, and because last Thanksgiving somebody stole all of our chickens. But anyway, we bought some more, and we were hoping to just have hens. And this is twice we've come across having roosters when we didn't want roosters. So far they have not flogged me yet. I'm okay with having a rooster until they start chasing me across the yard, which I had one do that, and it scared me half to death. And then actually one of our roosters tried to chase me to the garden just the other day, and that was the first time that rooster's done that. And it was because I was trying to round them up in a, we have their chicken run, but then we also have, well, we had, my husband gave it away yesterday, but we had a big 20 by 10 foot dog lot, and we would take them out of their chicken run and put them out in the dog lot to let them basically free range, because we can't leave them out in the yard to free range like we used to, because so many people, like I said, steal them. But the other day I was trying to round them up and put them in the dog lot, and when I was doing that, they weren't cooperating. And I think the one rooster didn't, I don't know, didn't like the idea of going in the dog lot for some reason. And usually I don't have trouble, we don't usually have trouble getting them to go in. But for some reason this day they were all, we have 4 ducks and like 6 chickens, and all of them were not cooperating. So I don't know what the deal was, but that stupid rooster chased me across the yard and was flapping his wings trying to get at me. And my son run in the house because he doesn't like when they do that either, and he won't feed them. I was trying to water them and feed them, but he won't do that when they start coming after us. So I was stuck out there trying to fend for myself, but I happened to have a big stick laying around, and I picked up that big stick and was waving it at him to get him away from me. We'll just pretend this has been painted black. That'll look cool black. And then I've got this hose that's coming off of his ventilator breathing mask or whatever. And we're just darkening it up a little bit. And usually these masks usually have some color to them. I think I may hold off on that and just do the mask in like shading. Usually your gears are darker, but because he has a hat on, and his hat's really dark, I just left the gears light. Of course, I want to cast a really dark shadow right there just so that will pop. That brim, don't want to lose that. Get these little pockets down here. Also done like his pants. And we'll put some shadows on them. Oops, and I forgot to do this. That's part of his pants. We just cast some deeper shadows on the bottom of that pocket. And then on this waistband, I think I'm going to do it a little bit darker. We'll cast a little bit darker shadow here. And this little dowel that he's got is going to be hanging from underneath these little rivets. Kind of reminds me of the, I think it was a watch in Ben 10. A little show that the kids used to watch. That's what that reminds me of. And of course, we've got to get the lines in this. And it doesn't look like I may get done with this because I've got to pop off here, go fix my son something to eat here in a minute, and then I have church tonight. So, I have to make this quick. I think I'm going to do this one this way and make it darker. Give him a dark bag. I know you don't normally go and really dark outline things, but when there's so much going on in the picture and you want things to stand out and pop, you just about have to do that. And there's a lot going on in this picture. Put him some little creases in his shirt there. And we'll cast a shadow under the edge of this vest. Of course, you won't have that necessarily up here, but you'll have it on this. And maybe under the arm a little bit. And I'm going to make his little mechanical devices on his hands dark. And these are like, I know that looks like one solid band, but it's supposed to be meant to look like two like copper coils maybe going through, like they're split, and then he has a box, and then this split has a box. I may leave his shirt white. After seeing all of what's going on around him, I'm thinking it might be too much to do his shirt black. When you have something like that that you're in a dilemma about, and I actually thought about doing it with one of my other drawings, is I thought about tracing this on my light box, this area, and then cutting out a piece of black paper and placing it down on this picture just so I can step back and look at it and see what it would look like colored in before I go to start coloring it in. Because if I go to color it in and then I'm not happy with it, then I'm just going to be like all depressed and stuff. But if you do make decisions like that, to where you can just see sort of what it's going to look like before the fact, before you kind of, oops, uh-oh, made a mess, like I did right there, it works out better. I should have thought that one through a little bit more. I am making his boots dark. just because between each garment, I think he needs a little bit of contrast. And what I'm doing is I'm doing like a panel that goes down the side of his buttons and his stitching, almost like a decorative piece, so that that actually shows up. Because if I go in with black all the way across, you're not going to see those details. But by doing it this way, it looks like a panel in there, and I can still keep the details of I think I'll slim that up just a little bit, and I'll slim down that side just a little bit, and the same thing here, and same thing here. And of course I can put a little something there. I just don't want it to be hugely, I don't want it to be hugely different from the dark black, but I also don't want it to be, I don't want it to look like stark white on there either. I want it to look like maybe another leather or a different type of color, but not necessarily white. You don't normally see anything in steampunk in white unless it's a button-up shirt or something like that. It's about the only time you're going to see that. Most of the clothing is, if you ever watch even Mad Max movies, they're kind of, their clothing sort of reminds me of steampunk, but it's not really, but it's close. But their garments are usually blacks, browns, tans, the darker earth tones, natural tones. We can do his belt black. That would stand out against a white shirt. I don't know about you, if you're an artist, if when you see things in your head, like I can go into a house, I mentioned before that me and my husband have flipped houses, and I could go into a house and see it look like a hot mess, and in my head I can see the whole house reconfigured, a different layout, walls tore out, different wall color, different mold, and I can, tile, I can see all that in my head before we ever even buy the house, touch it. I don't know how or why God gave me that gift, but I can see it. And when I'm drawing a drawing, that don't always happen, but sometimes it does. So like as I'm drawing this drawing, I can kind of in my head picture him with a black shirt, and then I can also see that maybe that might distract from everything else that's going on. So what I may do is I may actually use my pencil for this. And we're giving this a little bit of color down through here with my pen. And the reference picture that I was using for the bridge itself It had this painted line down the middle, and the bridge itself is looks like it's made out of wood or something. And the lines actually run through it, so you're still seeing, like, you'll see a shadow under maybe this area here, and then maybe a shadow like here, almost like the slats have gaps. So I may do that on this part. And I'm just going in and enhancing some of these shading details. Not a whole lot to be done because most of the shading I did on this one was done with pen. But just a little bit. My fingers are starting to go numb from drawing all day. And I think that has a lot to do with my my neck issues. Because a lot of times my arms or my hands will go numb. And they've told me my doctors told me in the past, possibility of carpal tunnel. I am not receiving that. I've had enough diagnoses that which I shouldn't have, but I accepted in the past and lived with and dealt with. But I really feel like God is a healer, and the more I receive from I know, I just feel like the more faith I have to go forward and to not receive maybe all the negativity that comes from some of that, because it really does wear you down. It did with me when I was diagnosed with the trigeminal neuralgia, and then turned around, was diagnosed or told that I was going to have brain surgery and then 2 back surgeries all at once. I mean, I got the news within like 3 months of each other that all of this was going to take place. And I'll be honest with you, I got really, really down and discouraged and forgot who I was in Christ. And sometimes I just have to remember I'm a child of the King, and healing is mine if I want it. I'm a firm believer in that. I just have to believe it and get on track with what God's Word tells me who I am. I am healed, and I'm blessed, and I'm alive, and I'm breathing, and, I am blessed. I'm blessed to wake up every day and know that I'm alive. Some people are battling cancer and all other things, and sometimes I think my life is bad, and then I see other people that struggle with those kind of things, and I'm like, oh, dude, what am I complaining about, I don't have it near as rough as some people do. And some people that have those conditions never complain, and I'm just like, oh Lord, I wished I was more like that. I wished I just had unbelievable faith to move mountains and to not get discouraged. And I can't say that I have totally arrived. I'm striving toward having that peace and that faith, and I do have more peace now about like when they denied my insurance for my neck surgery. I don't know why. I just had really a sense of peace that whatever happened, and if they decided to do the surgery, they didn't do the surgery, that God would take care of me no matter what. And that's just how I'm looking at it. I can't be upset and mad because things don't go my way. What does that accomplish? Absolutely nothing. It just weakens my faith even more, I think, to go there. And it really just basically says to the Lord that I don't believe that He's big enough to do it, that He's big enough to take care of my problems. Which that's not true, because I do believe He's big enough to take care of my problems. But sometimes when you're going through something, you tend to forget that He's the creator. He created you, and He knows ultimately what you need to take care of you. So for some that might sound like a crazy thing, but for me it's real. They can call me a basket case or whatever they want to call me. I decided just to do some minor shading around creases and stuff in his shirt, and to leave it, well, it doesn't really look white now, but it's whiter than I thought about doing all over color like his pants, but then I decided not to do that because, like I said, when you're seeing things in your head, you don't always, sometimes you do, but sometimes you don't always see it, how it's going to appear. But then at some time when you're doing one part, then the other pops out or gets lost or whatever. And so for me, it looked like almost too much if I would have done that. Let's try this first. Let's do this. Now, a colored pencil does not necessarily blend well like the pencil does. I'm just very, very lightly going over this in some areas, and then I'll come back with my pencil and darken it up that way, and maybe it'll blend a little bit better. Because I don't want the bridge to be white. And I had mentioned maybe possibly doing it in pointillism, and I may come back after I do this and do some pointillism, but I'm not sure with these stripes if that's going to distract, take away from it. And you that are watching could maybe comment whether you, which I'll be done with the picture by then, but for future references you can comment whether you think the pointillism would have been good or not for the bridge. But I kind of just feel like it would be almost distracting. Now, I said like 20 minutes ago I was going to get off of here and go fix my son's, and you see what happens when I get involved in something. I get my mind on one track and I want to finish what I start. I don't always do that, but when it comes to my art, I am one track minded. I'm very focused on, usually. Now, I have been working on these pieces over a period of about a week now, and that's really unusual for me, because usually I will work on one solid piece. But there's a lot of decision making that I was doing on these pieces that I normally don't do when I'm just being my creative self and doing a picture that I just want to randomly do. But I had to mull, I guess you say, mull a lot of things over with these that maybe I wouldn't normally do, just because I want to make it right. But in saying that, I've been on these projects for over a week, like I said. Let's see what we got here. And I'm just roughly going over it. Like I said, that black colored pencil does not blend in very well like a regular pencil does. And that kind of gives it a rough texture, which is okay for like a wooden bridge or whatever, or a bridge that's got, this looks like it, the reference photo looks like it was a wooden bridge, but with metal side beams. And it probably has metal beams running underneath it. Alright, you guys. As of right now, other than just doing a little bit of shading, I think I'm just going to quit on this project. I'm going to try to do the pointillism for the clouds, and I will come back with you with the finished product. There's got to be something in this picture that's got to be color, and I've pretty much done everything in this picture that does not need color. I may do his tank. But anyway, I'll come back and show you the finished product once I've got the last of the detail, because pretty much you've gotten the gist of this whole picture. You got a good idea. I may come in and, like, you know, shadow in these little bars and maybe put something in back behind there to make the bar stand out or something. But you got the gist of this drawing. I'll pull it back just so you can see it a little bit better. So once I get the clouds in, and this is the clouds up here, and once I get the smoke in right here, and put a little bit more shading on this, and maybe the bridge railing, this picture will be pretty much done. So I hope you enjoyed watching, and catch me next time. And sorry the video got cut off earlier, but maybe I won't have that trouble with the next one. Thanks for watching. Keep in touch. Bye.